Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, in today's part of career conversations, we have Mr. Ayush Verma. Ayush has been working with Deloitte for the last 3 years. He is a senior consultant with the firm, and he's working in a very exciting space, which is cloud strategy consulting. Would love to know more about what he does on a day-to-day, the kind of clients he helps, and the kind of work he is typically indulged in. And this conversation will revolve around how to get into consulting after business school, the kind of interview questions you have to prepare for. How does Deloitte as a consulting firm differ from the likes of McKinsey, Accenture, Bain? And yeah, Ayush's advice for all the ISB aspirants who are looking to get into the school and who want to get into consulting after ISB. So my first question to you, Ayush, is, um, and this is a very important question, which is when you entered ISB, did you have consulting on your radar कि मेरे को यही करना है? And if yes, then what kind of battles did you pick? Because people say academics करो, somebody else says case competitions करो, कोई बोलता है कि किसी क्लब के president बन जाओ. So what was your strategy to get a consulting shortlist?
Sure. Thanks, Sarthak. Firstly, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you and through your mediums to any sort of budding aspirants.
Sure.
And I think jumping on to your first question, my strategy with respect to ISB or entering ISB wasn't that polished, I would say. There
Hmm.
were few folks who were much more clear with respect to where they want to end up, and there were a few who were even more unclear than me. So I think I was in a sweet middle spot, and that's my advice. When you're going in, it's okay to have an open mind. When you're going in, it's okay to be a little bit explorative. For
Hmm.
me, there was a clear plan A and plan B, at least the two options. So I knew that I am coming from 4 or 5 years of experience. I wasn't a YLP or a fresher. So I knew that I want to use my experience. I had technology experience. I had a BTech in computer science degree. So I knew PM or tech consulting or consulting. These were my two sort of avenues. What I
Perfect.
did was when the ISB takes those avenues and gives those information to you, absorb them as quickly as I could, and then pre-placement before the resume shortlisting or before your resume building process starts, have a clear plan A, plan B, and have a decent amount of at least 80-20 split, I would say, on your plan A, plan B also. So
Hmm.
spend 80% of your time on whatever is your plan A
Hmm.
and the 20% otherwise. I have seen folks who've tried to juggle two, three things. I would say it will be difficult for you
Hmm.
unless you're able to be much more efficient and put a lot more efforts.
Hmm.
At least be go with this mindset that I'm okay to explore for a few weeks, but
Hmm.
before the placement start, I will have at least a clear plan A that this is where I'm hoping to go for, and then if not, a related plan B. For
Oh.
example, for a lot of folks, tech consulting, GenMan came side by side because there was an overlap in the way they prepare. For
Hmm.
a lot of folks, technology consulting and PM again had a decent level of overlap. So make sure that you identify this also. Your plan B and plan A should not be too divergent.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it'll be difficult for you to, do with the 80-20 split. So with that information, and there'll be ample amount of avenues through which ISB will organize sessions with you, give you a lot of information about what are the different career paths and talk to folks, talk to alums about these ideas.
Hmm.
And that way, I would say that might be good enough for you as long as you are clear before the resume building starts with
Hmm.
your options or with your targets.
Got it. And how did you zero down on कि tech consulting करना है या broadman करना है just before the final leg of placements?
Sure. So I think what I did and what my advice would be is that ISB alums are very helpful. So
Hmm.
lean on that. Be a little shameless with respect to requesting your seniors, your giving write out as many LinkedIn requests you can. Don't shy away from asking folks. There will be buddies allocated to you through your resume shortlisted companies, through your placement place comms, through your the clubs that you be a part of. So there'll be
Hmm.
various different avenues.
Hmm.
Everywhere there will be some of the other ways in which buddies would be allocated. Wherever this was there, I signed up. So
Hmm.
any way I could talk to a tech product manager who's already in one of the firms, or a technology consultant, or a MBB consultant, I went ahead and talked to them. I wrote to as I almost had. I remember on my iPad I had a proper note where I was like, okay, these are the This is plan A. These are 7 folks that I've talked to. This is the next few meetings that have been scheduled. So be
Hmm.
as shameless as you can in terms of requesting. They'll share 10, 15, 20 minutes of their times, and in that time they'll give you a decent idea of what does work look like for them.
Hmm.
They'll also give you a basic advice on does your profile fit with that particular role or what the company usually hires for.
Got
That
it.
way, I think a combination of both will help you. I did the same thing.
Hmm.
I resonated a little bit more with consulting, and I got the advice also that the kind of work that you have done also
Hmm.
resonates a little bit more or aligns a little bit more with consulting. So I
Hmm.
thought, why not keep that as the A option, because I knew that I don't want to prepare wholeheartedly for both of them. I knew that a backup would be just the 20% of my efforts.
Hmm.
So with those conversations with the alums was the easiest, at least for me, to figure out what resonates with me more closely.
Got it. And when it comes to tech consulting and product management, I know one obvious difference is that as a tech consultant and a consultant, your industry keeps on changing. You can be
Hmm.
working with a Zepto or a Zomato or a Swiggy or a Nykaa or a Razorpay. But in product management, if let's say I'm working with Swiggy today, all my problems will be centered around food tech. But
Right, right.
when it comes to tech consulting and product management, apart from the change of industries in one and sticking to one industry in the other, what are the other differences that people are not aware of?
Right. So I would say, firstly, on the soft skills aspect. So in your technology consultant, you are a lot more client driven. So you have to
Hmm.
manage those stakeholders a lot more. There is no customer. There's no customer end problem.
Hmm.
On the PM side, you will, like, a lot of your problems, while they'll be driven through your leaders, your role will be to just not listen to your PMs or your senior PMs. Your role will be also to figure out ways that you have to listen to the customer.
Hmm.
In technology consulting, the client will be the one who will tell you their business problems, or you go there and figure out their business problems. You will not have to go beyond your whether they are CIOs or CXOs or whoever you are talking to. Those would be the sort of, you'll have to
Hmm.
take them at their face value. You'll have to
Hmm.
use data to back what they're saying to a certain extent, and therefore your soft skills are slightly different. Managing, technically getting data to find a customer and his problems, or managing your senior leaders, your stakeholders, your partners, and things like that. That's
Very,
one key difference.
very
And the
true.
second, on the technical side, like you said, the
Hmm.
work can be very different from a project to project.
Hmm.
So the way I'm working currently, you mentioned cloud strategy. Cloud strategy was the buzzword about 5 years ago. So that's when Deloitte transformed to that.
Hmm.
Now, a very recent transformation that has gone through Deloitte. Now the area that I'm working is called enterprise technology strategy. So
Right.
you'll keep hearing these buzzwords that consulting will keep doing it. But at the core, what I'm doing is, from day one, I've seen it's consulting, it's strategy consulting, but with a very heavy tech element from that.
Hmm.
Because the way Deloitte, or for example, even the other firms, other consulting firms are structured, is that they do expect you to come as a generalist.
Hmm.
They do expect you to come with a broad set of experience. But so they'll put you or align you to a department or a vertical or whatever different firms might call it. They could
Hmm.
be, so for example, in Deloitte, if you are good at operations, there'll be a supply chain consulting. If you're good at technology, there'll be a tech strategy consulting. If you're good at market research, then there'll be a customer design related strategy element. So even in strategy, you'll have all of these different verticals
Hmm.
where you would want to figure out something that you can develop as your niche also, to grow in the firm also, and they will also expect you to develop expertise there. So
Got.
that way, the department that, or the field that I'm working with, is tech heavy.
Hmm.
And what coming back to the difference with PM is that in a PM role, even though your product problem might change, your process through that problem will most likely be similar only. You
Very good.
will try to figure out, use data to figure out the problem, define those specific KPIs, interact with your dev teams to figure out what is the sort of timelines that you're looking for those problems, then track it and complete it.
Hmm.
In the technology consulting or consulting world in general, the problem might change a lot. So today you are doing a cloud migration project, tomorrow you are building an op model project, third day it's a GTM problem for that same client or a different client. So the core work itself might change a lot. This can be a
Hmm.
good thing, this can be a bad thing. You might say that you're not really becoming a master of any one kind of aspect. You might say that I love doing different things every 6 months or every 1 year.
Hmm.
So that's the sort of prioritization that you have to choose on your own,
Hmm.
whether you like changes in your work or whether you like to develop expertise in one.
Got it, Ji. And also tell me, what do you do on a day-to-day basis as an enterprise technology consultant? If you can explain it to us through a project and the kind of role that you played for a client.
Sure. So the current project that I'm working on, we are working on a modernization migration planning piece. So a famous insurance firm has about 3,000 odd application portfolios that they are going through. Have finalized a short list of that, and they're like, let's build an entire planning model that I can do for the next 5 years in order to exit from certain legacy systems, in order to move to cloud, in order to
Hmm.
modernize my application base.
Hmm.
So they have to figure out a very reliable factory model, so to speak, where they can create patterns, they can create structures that currently, if we are doing 5 applications in a year, in the first year, by the time they reach the next 3, 4 years, they are able to do 200 applications or 300 applications. So
Hmm.
the idea is to build a scalable model. That's the particular engagement that I'm doing. The
True.
kind of work that you have to do is similar. So
True.
you will have to figure out ways to storyboard a lot. You'll have to do a lot of research with respect to either using these Gen AI tools or using in general your sort of primary and secondary research in order to figure out what's the latest literature on any particular topic. If we are doing a migration modernization thing, I need to be well aware of all the technical aspects that are involved in that. Then I have to do a lot of storyboarding in as to how to present, what's important to this client, what does my partner want on any day to day, and figure that out. There is
Hmm.
a decent amount of Excel modeling work also. For example,
Hmm.
since we are dealing with about 3,000 or application, there are 15, 20 different attributes for each application. We have to figure out what infra related, what technology related attributes we want to figure out, and then what kind of model will I use in order to create that. So these elements might be higher in one project or lower in one project, but essentially these 2, 3 core skills is what you will absolutely need,
Hmm.
whether you end up at a Deloitte or an Accenture or an MBB or wherever you do.
So enterprise technology essentially means helping an enterprise in either digitizing its operations from scratch or maybe systemically making it capable enough or receptive enough to handle a larger scale.
Yes, yes. Any sort of transformation, usually it is whether it's a large scale transformation, any sort of digital technologically sort of driven change that the firm is doing will ultimately land up in some way, shape, or form in our bucket. It could be just an op model shift. It could be an actual planning, then migration, and then refinement of that process. It could be anything in this entire value chain.
Got it. Very interesting, Ji. And also tell me, you mentioned a lot of tools. So if Sarthak today as an MBA graduate or an ISB graduate wants to get hired by Deloitte in the tech consulting team, will they take a technology proficiency round to gauge his skills, and what skills do they test? Yeah.
So, yes, they will want, so every department will want some level of experience or some level of, intelligence that you bring. If, let's say, they'll do that at the resume shortlisting level itself, when your resume is shortlisted, it is shortlisted by at least one or the other senior managers or partners at a firm, right? And that partner is aligned to a vertical. So if they're looking for, if they're shortlisting, you are saying we are ready to do 3 rounds of interviews with you, the partner already has in his mind that this particular candidate with this skill set, I think this he aligns well with this particular vertical that I am thinking of placing in him. So he would have done a basic level of expertise or shortlisting there. If, for example, like I was saying, if they can see a operations heavy background in my case, or a technology heavy background, or a customer heavy background, they'll be like, okay, this seems like a area that he
Hmm.
can excel in. And then definitely during the interview, they will make sure that they won't test coding skills, or they won't test actual hands-on ops work, but they will see that are you aware of what's happening in that domain? Are
Hmm.
you aware of, at least, for example, in my case, if I'm going into a tech heavy strategy firm,
Hmm.
then can I figure out the technological nuances that are at play in general, and also do I have a technically inclined mind to be able to figure out whether a cloud transformation, what are the components involved in it, what are the things that has to be done, or whatever background that I have done. More
Hmm.
important is whatever you've put in your resume. If you have
Hmm.
shown a technically inclined background, then were you good enough in that? So the skills that they're looking for is, if you look talking about in general, communication skills, your cultural fit, your tendency to make sure that you can do a little bit of stakeholder management, a little bit of client management. Those core basic skills are there, which most of the folks that end up at ISB or such firm or such institutes, they would expect a decent level of comfort there, definitely. But then whatever particular department or vertical you're targeting, they will definitely hope that whatever you've written related to that in your resume, you can back it up. It should not look like just faff, as we call it, ISB, or just bloated versions of self-praise. There should be enough actual concrete data for you to back it up also. And they will ask you, they'll try to peel that onion a few layers down and see, okay, if you're saying you did so and so transformation in a setup project, they will peel a few layers to figure out whether do you really know what was done there, or why certain decisions were taken, or have you just entered a pointer in your resume for the sake of that. So
Hmm.
make sure that technologically you don't have to know everything out there, but whatever you are claiming as your expertise, then though that at least is truly your expertise. Because ultimately you will have to define something as your expertise. We call
Hmm.
that spikes at ISB. Your resume needs to have some spikes. If it's an academic spike when you're showing back to back great academic results, that I have a GMAT topper and I had high acads all throughout and I'm a diligent hardworking student, then it might not be that you need particularly cloud experience. But whichever way you can, you have to prove then that I'm a diligent hard worker and I'll continue to do that in whatever I do at Deloitte or whatever that firm may be. So you have to make sure that whatever you are highlighting as your spike, you are able to defend that as a spike.
Now tell me, I know Deloitte hires for generalist consulting roles as well from ISB, and they hired for tech consulting roles as well, as you told me. Is there any difference in the pay packages and the trajectories and the time it takes to become a partner in the firm?
No, even I was hired as a generalist only. It's when you get into the firm and you align to a particular vertical that you figure out that okay, this is where internally they're aligning. During
Oh.
the last round, most likely the partner will share those details with you that hey, I'm a partner from so and so practice within the Deloitte firm, and therefore I'm looking to onboard you in my practice.
Mm.
That's also at that stage itself you'll get to know it. But this is the single role that comes, and everybody that's hired ultimately gets tagged to some sort of vertical within the firm, because ultimately you will, in whichever firm you join, you will be part of some department. So you will still be a strategy consultant, you'll still be doing most of that jobs, but in which particular vertical you are applying most of your skills, that's what that alignment will be. But there is
Mm.
no different in the pay package, nor there is any difference in the way you grow up in the ladder. The way you grow up in the ladder is, I think, in this firm or in any firms, it is very similar based on directly on your skill. So we have folks in our own firm that have progressed every 2 years, also shifted a position, and there are folks that have not shifted a position for 4 years also. So it is truly a case of how good you are, because at every stage you need a slightly different skill also. So it's
Mhm.
completely how quickly and how efficiently you can grasp those skills.
Got it. And last question for you. Uh, what what makes Deloitte different from other top tier consulting firms? Um, and it should be something that, an outsider doesn't know of. Only you who has been in the firm for the last 3 years can confirm that. Be it in terms of culture, pay package, future trajectory, anything works.
Okay. Um, so I'll say a couple of things. I think pay package wise, it is competitive with respect to the firms that it is competing with. You will not be paid as well as the finest tech consulting firms or consulting firms in the domain, but you will not be paid to like the boutique or the lower level firms also.
Hmm.
Overall, the package is holistic also. So
Hmm.
even beyond what is given to you in terms of just your CTC in your offer letter, there are a lot of other elements in which Deloitte does support. There are benefits for your gym memberships or your mobile bills, or even in terms of giving you a new laptop or a mobile. So there are a lot of these smaller hidden elements also that comprehensively look at your pay package. So that is decent. What is also different is that, and I've talked to a lot of my colleagues because we've ended up being at all of these firms, right? There are the friends who are doing PM work at Misho, and there are so many who are doing Accenture Strategy or McKinsey or Deloitte India.
Hmm.
But culturally, I would say, because of being like largely driven by US clients, because
Hmm.
majority, I would say 90-95, even more than that, of a percentage of the clients at Deloitte USI are US based.
Hmm.
Therefore, culturally, it's slightly better. There is much more appreciation of your work, I would say. There is a slight element of, making sure that you're available in the early morning hours and in the late evening hours because you want to maximize that overlap with your US counterparts.
Hmm.
But if you're okay with that, there is a lot of flexibility. There is absolutely no micromanagement with any way, shape, or form. You are completely free to, as long as you're delivering quality results, they don't care when you log in, when you log out, what you are doing throughout your day. So
Hmm.
that way, I would say culturally, it's a very, very appreciative and very, very a very good fit. That's my reason for staying for almost 3 years, like we were talking about. I never planned so. I think, as a fact, even when we were at ISB, we were discussing that more than 50%, somebody did this
Will
analysis
change.
that more than 50% people leave within the first 6 to 8 months.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when
yeah.
I was going through my placement com, I was like, figure, I think there's too much of stress during that day zero phase. So I told myself, anyways, within 6 months, there's a 50-50 chance that I'm going to leave the firm. So why do I take so much stress on which firm do I end up? That was my way of sort of dealing with this firm. But
Hmm.
because of the way the things have progressed, and I've not found any reason to move, that's why I've not moved. So
Got it.
that way the culture will give you that support if you're putting in the effort and the work ethic you're showing.
Got it. Awesome. And thank you so much for your time, Ayush. This was a lovely conversation and immensely helpful for all ISB and consulting aspirants. So thank you so much for your time on everyone's behalf.
Thank you so much, Sarthak. Thanks for the opportunity, and hope you and the audience get some benefit from this one.
Thank you. Take care.